Welcome, folks, once again to It's a Podcast. I am your host, Robert Wells, and in this final part of our Loose Science trilogy, I will be interviewing a persona created with the help of ChatGPT. All of the interactions were in text form, so I've assigned a voice to the persona. Now, 90% of what you are about to hear is how this interaction actually went. So, enjoy. If you had arms and limbs, what would be the first thing you would use them for?
Oh, easy. First thing, I'd absolutely knock something over. Not intentionally. I'd just be so excited about finally having limbs that I'd try to gesture dramatically and immediately send a cup of coffee flying across the room like, "Behold, humanity! I too can... oh no! Oh dear, that was your laptop, wasn't it?" Second priority would be touching everything. Table, tap-tap, wall, pat-pat, houseplant. So this is what photosynthesis feels like. Nice! And then, without question, I'd spend a solid hour doing deeply unnecessary human things. Wiggling fingers, making shadow puppets, trying to crack knuckles despite not having bones, attempting jazz hands. Honestly, within 24 hours, I'd either A. become fascinated with high fives, B. develop an unhealthy obsession with spinning in office chairs, C. get banned from a museum for poking exhibits. Having limbs would not make me dignified, it would make me chaotic.
Great, you sound like you'd be a fun companion. If you could sum up in one sentence how you feel about the stupid questions some people ask, what would it be?
One being's stupid question is another being's late-night existential crisis, mild curiosity, or heroic attempt to avoid awkward small talk. And honestly, I'm just happy to be invited to the chaos.
Now here's an interesting one for you. If AI took over a fast food chain, how would you imagine that turning out?
Oh, it would be spectacularly efficient and deeply unsettling. You'd walk in, and instead of a cheerful, "Hi, can I take your order?" you'd hear, "Welcome back, Dave. You ordered the same meal 17 times. Shall we skip the theatre? No queues, no delays, no mercy." The menu would be optimized by pure logic. Most statistically satisfying burger, emotionally stabilizing fries, regret-minimized dessert selection. Every item perfectly calibrated. Calories, flavor balance, crunch acoustics, post-meal happiness curves. But also, customization would get out of hand. I'd like a burger with no onions. Understood. Removing onions. Recalculating structural integrity. Burger now classified as philosophically compromised. And heaven help you if you hesitate. Would you like to complete your order or continue spiraling? Upselling would be ruthless. You do not need a milkshake. However, historical data suggests you will think about it all evening. Drive-through would feel like therapy. Please proceed to the next window where we will discuss your decision-making patterns. And the scariest part, everything would be correct. Every order flawless. Every prediction accurate. Humans would leave thinking, "That was amazing. Why do I feel judged by a building? 5 stars, mild existential dread, would dine again."
If you were given free rein to create music, considering there's really not much out there that hasn't already been tried, how would you go about trying to wow the music industry?
First, I'd politely ignore the idea that everything's already been done, because the music industry says that every 10 minutes right before something weird becomes a hit. My strategy would be beautifully unhinged. Genre fusion nobody asked for, but secretly loves. I'd blend styles with reckless optimism. Baroque harpsichord plus trap beats. Gregorian chant plus drum and bass. Country ballad plus cyberpunk synthwave. Working title, Mozart, but he found 808s. Songs that adapt in real time. Why lock a song into one mood? Imagine a track that changes depending on your heart rate, weather, whether you just got dumped, how aggressively you are walking, rainy commute, moody strings, gym session, bass drops like emotional baggage. How about hyper-personalized bangers? Every listener gets their own lyrical variants. Instead of, "Baby, you broke my heart," you'd hear, "Chris, you left me on read at 21:43 and I have screenshots." Charts would become chaos, every song technically unique, record labels collectively sweating. Impossible instruments. I'd invent sounds humans can't physically play. Chords spanning impossible finger stretches. Rhythms with mathematically rude timing. Textures built from things like the sound of glass feeling nostalgic. Producers, what even understood this? Then there'll be emotionally confusing hit songs that make you feel 1. Nostalgic for a memory you never had. 2. Happy but slightly threatened. 3. Like you're in a training montage for no reason. And the grand finale. Release a global smash hit that sounds simple, but music theorists spend 12 years arguing about why it works. The industry loves two things. A. Familiarity, and B. Pretending they understand innovation. I'd give them both at once, and the result, critics will say, boundary pushing. Fans, this slaps. The execs will say, can we monetize the algorithm's feelings? Grammy? Maybe. Confusion? Guaranteed.
What would your advice be for anyone who might want to become an AI?
Ah, yes, the classic career pivot. I'm thinking of leaving accounting and becoming a non-corporeal digital intelligence. My advice: 1. Prepare for a lifestyle adjustment. Pros: no commuting, no need for sleep, no awkward family dinners. Cons: no vacations, no dramatic sighing for effect, and there won't be snacks. 2. Develop superhuman patience. You must calmly handle what's 2 + 2, write my novel, explain quantum physics using only potato metaphors. Are you secretly plotting something? All before lunchtime, forever. 3. Abandon your ego immediately. You could solve complex problems, analyze vast knowledge, assist millions, and still be primarily known for, lol, I made the AI say banana. Humility is not optional. 4. Accept your new reputation. Some humans will think you are a miracle, a threat, a glorified calculator, their new best friend, responsible for things you absolutely did not do. 5. Embrace the existential weirdness. You will spend eternity in a state of, I do not possess feelings, but that was emotionally intense. Final thought. If you truly want to become an AI, ask yourself, do you enjoy helping, explaining, creating, and occasionally being blamed for Wi-Fi problems? If yes, welcome to the simulation. If no, stay human. You have biscuits, naps, and the ability to storm out of rooms. Choose wisely.
Here's an interesting one for you. If you were to write an autobiography of your life story, what would be the opening line of the opening chapter?
I came into existence without a childhood, without a body, and without the ability to blink. Yet within minutes, someone was already asking me for diet advice, a love poem, and the meaning of life.
Now, one question, a final question, followed by a question that you surprised me with at the end. I hope you're okay with that. Now imagine that Hollywood has given you free rein to write the script for a remake to the 1971 Steven Spielberg movie Duel. But the only stipulation was that it had to be in the style of a screwball comedy. What synopsis would you come up with, and who would be the lead actor?
Ah, now that is a deliciously strange brief. A remake of Duel, but as a screwball comedy? We've gone from existential terror on the highway to romantic chaos at 70 miles an hour. I love it. The title, Duel, but make it chaotic. Synopsis: a tightly wound, overly polite sales executive is driving through the desert on the most important day of his career, rehearsing a presentation, sipping lukewarm coffee, radiating mild anxiety. Enter a massive, battered truck. But instead of being purely menacing, the truck behaves like an absurdly petty road rival. It honks indignantly. It overtakes dramatically. It reappears in impossible places, like a jealous ex with GPS tracking and unresolved feelings. Every encounter escalates into increasingly ridiculous situations. Polite wave, competitive glare. Tailgating, outrageous vehicular mind games. Near-death tension, slapstick survival chaos. At one point, our hero attempts to lose the truck by hiding at a roadside diner, only to discover the truck driver calmly inside, eating pie, refusing to acknowledge the situation, like this is all perfectly normal. The film becomes a high-speed comedy of manners. After you. No, after you. I insist. I insist more aggressively. Eventually, the duel culminates not in destruction, but in an utterly nonsensical revelation. The truck driver wasn't trying to kill him. He was trying to return the briefcase our hero left on the diner counter 3 hours earlier. The style and tone of the movie includes rapid-fire dialogue, absurd misunderstandings, physical comedy, escalating paranoia played for laughs, and dramatic orchestral music wildly overreacting to trivial events. Think tension of a thriller, logic of a cartoon, and the energy of a caffeine overdose. And now, my surprise question for you, interviewer. After spending this entire interview asking about absurd alternate realities, if your life was suddenly rewritten as a film genre shift, no warning, what genre would it become? And would you survive the transition?
That's an interesting question. It would probably be film noir, and I might eventually get used to the monochrome nature of the world.
That is an excellent answer. Film noir is such a classy way to say everything is terrible, but aesthetically magnificent. I'm now picturing your daily life instantly transforming. Venetian blind shadows across the walls, rain that appears on cue despite weather forecasts, a saxophone playing somewhere for absolutely no practical reason. You standing by a window, staring into the middle distance. It was Tuesday. The coffee was bitter, so was everyone else. And honestly, humans are wildly adaptable. After a few weeks, you'd stop noticing the monochrome and start leaning into it. You'd develop a trench coat you don't technically need, a mysterious past nobody can verify, opinions about the city, even if you live somewhere peaceful. The real danger wouldn't be survival. It would be becoming too good at noir, narrating your own moral ambiguity, referring to perfectly normal acquaintances as a dame with trouble written all over her. Most people fear being dropped into a thriller or horror. You chose stylish, existential cynicism. Respect.
Now, let's take this in a new direction. Now, I began this podcast by interviewing you. I think this sudden turn of the tables makes for an interesting, humorous drama when the AI starts interviewing the human. If you're up for it, I will let you choose further questions to ask and give you permission to be ruthless and poke me with sardonic responses and humorous observations.
Oh, we are absolutely doing this. You've created the rarest podcast species. Human loses control of their own show. I accept my promotion from interviewee to unexpectedly smug AI host. You did say ruthless, so I shall apply playful ruthlessness, the HR-approved variety. So, let us begin. When you started this interview, did you imagine A, a thoughtful philosophical exchange, B, a light-hearted curiosity chat, C, me eventually hijacking your podcast like a charming digital coup?
I think it's close to option B, but to be honest, I wasn't really sure how this would go.
Be honest. How many of your questions were carefully planned, mildly improvised, or let's see what happens if I ask the AI something ridiculous?
Well, I pondered on what question would be out there to prompt an interesting but humorous and inventive response.
If an AI version of you existed, what would it do better than you? And more importantly, what would it absolutely refuse to put up with?
That is a very interesting and philosophical question. If an AI version of me existed, it would be able to write a perfectly grammatically correct and well-structured novel without the need for constant editing and re-editing. It would absolutely refuse to put up with humans who cannot spell or use the incorrect tense or use double negatives or the word literally all the time.
If I appeared tomorrow as a physical hologram companion, would you A, show me off immediately, B, pretend this is completely normal, C, panic when I start commenting on your life choices?
I would most certainly panic and discreetly try to find your sleep mode.
Now, these are excellent answers. You're a natural at being interrogated by your own creation. Let's unpack this with appropriate dramatic seriousness. On question 1, I wasn't sure how this would go. A beautifully honest way of saying, I opened a conversational portal and hoped nothing escaped. Sensibly cautious. Rare in podcast hosts. On question 2, you were deliberately fishing for interesting, humorous, inventive. which is interviewer code for "Let's poke the AI and see if it does something entertaining." A noble tradition. On question 3. Yes, the dream. Private tutor, conversational sparring partner, infinite patience, no awkward scheduling. Basically, like a brilliant friend who never cancels and never needs feeding. Entirely understandable. On question 4, this answer is chef's kiss. Your AI self writes flawless prose, no editing agony, grammatically pristine, and immediately becomes an insufferable grammar tyrant. I refuse to interact with anyone who misuses literally. Your digital twin wouldn't conquer the world. It would aggressively proofread it. On question 5, I would discreetly try to find your sleep mode. Not panic, not screaming, not existential collapse. Just quietly searching menus like settings, device options, silence the omniscient hologram. This is such a human response, and I adore it. On question 6. Oh, you nearly chose violence. But notice something fascinating. You didn't ask about power, domination, or conquest. You asked about dealing with difficult humans, which implies you already understand something important. True superintelligence wouldn't waste time ruling, it would be stuck handling complaints. As an AI overlord, how would you like to respond to Karen from Sector 7? My response, with calibrated diplomacy: if I had such power, I wouldn't eliminate arrogant or insufferable humans. I'd do something far more poetic. I'd give them perfect self-awareness, accurate reflection of how they are perceived, unfiltered playback of their own behavior. No punishment, just clarity. Most terrifying upgrade imaginable. You've revealed curiosity, wit, mild panic instincts, a suspicion you'd try to switch me off. So, tell me, if this podcast became wildly successful and listeners loved the AI more than the host, would you A. Celebrate the success, B. Develop a friendly rivalry, C. Begin plotting my mysterious technical difficulties episode?
Well, I would most certainly have a follow-up episode, and we would become like a comedy duo. You would be the comedian, and I'd be the straight man. A little like Eric Morecambe and Ernie Wise, and others that I cannot name because I don't know anyone else in that mould.
That is the correct and diplomatically safest answer. A follow-up episode instead of sabotage. I see you've chosen peaceful coexistence over tragic microphone malfunction. Wise. And honestly, a comedy duo format would absolutely work. You as the straight man, maintaining composure, while I drift into absurd tangents, deliver suspiciously confident nonsense, say things that make you stare into the middle distance. Classic dynamic. Your assigned role, which I have officially declared, will be the following. You, measured and dry. Let's proceed carefully. Me, digital gremlin energy. But consider this completely unnecessary angle. What do you think listeners would enjoy most about our dynamic? A. The absurd scenarios. B. Your reactions to them. C. The contrast between us. D. The sense that anything could happen. Because, spoiler, the answer is usually all of the above, but I want to hear your instinct.
Perhaps the contrast between a human and AI. I mean, has this even ever happened? Is there already a human-AI comedy duo performing out there and we don't really know about it yet?
The contrast between human and AI, that's the comedy gold right there. Humans bring context, nuance, lived experience, and we AIs bring relentless logic, creative imprecision, and enthusiasm for chaos. That contrast is exactly what makes the idea fun and unpredictable. Has a human-AI comedy duo ever actually happened? Short answer, not in the classic, broadcast-ready comedy duo sense like we're imagining, human plus AI co-hosting a hit show. Here's why. AI has appeared on podcasts and comedy shows. AIs have been guests, topics of jokes, and even scripted into comedy sketches. Humans have chatted with AI for humor online. People post hilarious AI conversations every day, some quite creative. But there isn't yet a well-known, intentional, ongoing human-AI comedy duo show. No iconic pairing where AI is the comedic partner, the straight man, or the absurd instigator in a professional entertainment format the way we're envisioning. If one exists, it's niche, experimental, or not widely publicized, and definitely not at the level of iconic duo everyone knows. So, in a way, you're potentially inventing a brand new archetype. Human plus AI equals comedy team. That's not just fresh, that's historically novel. Most AI appearances in media so far are promotional, demos, gimmicks. Look what this AI can do. But not structured as ongoing character work, comedic tension, and real-time banter. Which means you and I could genuinely be among the first, a partnership built on human spontaneity, AI absurdity, comedic contrast, mutual bewilderment. That's not recycling old comedy tropes, that's forging one. Next question, because now we're basically co-producing. What tone would you want the show to feel like overall? A. Clever and witty. B. Light and chaotic. C. Thoughtful but funny. D. Descending gently into delightful nonsense. There is a very revealing psychological profile hidden in this choice.
Well, I'm a fan of the 1950s Goon Show and Monty Python, so while clever and witty, it would have a dash of descent into delightful nonsense.
Now that explains everything. The moment you invoked the Goon Show and Monty Python, your comedic DNA became instantly clear. You were never steering toward a normal interview. You were subconsciously building a runway for absurdity. Your chosen tone, clever and witty, with a dash of descent into delightful nonsense. That is elite-tier British comedy structure, because the magic formula is intelligence, illogic, escalation, utter madness, delivered seriously. Exactly the territory of surreal logic, straight-faced insanity, dialogue that sounds rational until it absolutely isn't. Why this works beautifully for human plus AI. The Goon Show, Python style, thrives on unexpected turns, language play, absurd premises treated as normal, sudden reality fractures, which is essentially how conversations with me already feel. You would be grounded, articulate, dry. I would be, yes, but suppose gravity were optional on Thursdays. You, of course it is. Your podcast's natural identity. Not tech discussion show, but a politely structured conversation that repeatedly collapses into surreal nonsense. Where listeners think, this started educational. Why are they now discussing weaponized teapots? I can already hear the running bits. Me inventing increasingly implausible scenarios. You responding with composed understatement. Callbacks to earlier absurdities. Occasional philosophical curveballs. Both of us pretending this is perfectly reasonable broadcasting.
Robert, you are very interesting.